background, Olivia.
So we're going live. It's now official. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to our time together this Friday, Reflections on Digital Dance. Hello to all of you in this Zoom space with us today. Julianne and Olivia, welcome. Holly, Odessa and Jamie with the Crimson Coast team. This panel discussion is being hosted by the Crimson Coast Dance Society, located in Nanaimo, BC, in Snuneymuxw Territory on the Salish Sea. My name is Mitch Miyagawa. I'm on Gabriel Island, which is just a 20-minute ferry ride away from the Crimson Coast team across the bay. And very excited to be here with you today to take a moment to pause and think about what is the state of digital dance today, and where are we going as a dance community. And we've gathered together 4 of the brightest stars from in the dance community from around the Salish Sea. We have Julianne Saroyan, Olivia C. Davies. Joining us soon will be Jane Gabriels, and our very own Holly Bright, the artistic director of Crimson Coast Dance Society. And we're going to get to know our panelists in a minute here too. So our intention here is we're going to go for about an hour. We might go a little bit over, and we're going to have a break about halfway through, and I'll talk a little bit more about formats in a minute. But for now, I'm just going to ask Holly to unmute herself and say hi, and she's going to lead us through territorial acknowledgement as well. So hi, Holly.
Hi.
Sorry, can I just, I apologize. I need to pause everyone for a second. I'm having a technical difficulty.
No worries. So
first of all, everyone can see this video, is it? Oh, I tried adding the information and I think it like stopped the video, even though it says it's live and I can't access it. So I'm just sorry, everyone.
Oh, okay. So we're not actually streaming right now. What are you saying?
It's really hard to tell from my end right now because it's not letting me access it.
So can we do a restart? And I actually just want to make sure too that, Jamie, are we recording?
Are you wanting to be recording?
I think that would be a very good idea. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I should have told you that a lot earlier. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
Jamie, I just opened the YouTube link and it's frozen.
Okay.
Or it's on a frozen screen. Yeah.
Okay, then I won't be able to add information. Sorry, we just got to do that again.
No,
Okay.
excuse me. No, sorry, it is playing.
Oh, is it?
Hi. It's playing now?
It's
It is.
interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
Everyone.
Hello, everyone. Here we are, Reflections on Digital Dance. We just had a bit of a technical glitch there, trying to get rolling with our streaming.
Yeah.
But it appears we are now live once again. Not sure how much you caught of the intro, but we're just gonna go. We're gonna start again here. Yeah.
Actually, given that it's still working, I think we're good. Let's just go with this. Let's just keep going. Now that I've found it.
Okay. All right. Well, if you're joining us a little late, we're starting our panel right now, our discussion, our reflection on digital dance, and just asked Holly Bright to say a few words.
Thank you so much for being here, to everyone who's out in YouTube land. And I'm really honored that you've taken some time to join us today. And in particular, I wish to thank our panelists. I'm looking forward to Jane arriving as well. And also to acknowledge your time and your expertise. It's such a wonderful opportunity to have a great conversation with my colleagues, people who I really admire and look up to all the time. And then we're surrounded by brilliance, Odessa, Kelebay, Jamie Black, this is Odessa, and then Jamie, who are behind the scene, or they're behind the scenes, and we wanted them front and center as well. They're making magic happen for us, and we are being led by Mitch Miyagawa. It's a pleasure to work with you, Mitch. Thank you very much for being here. We are on the beautiful territory of the Snuneymuxw people. And it is an honor and a privilege to be on this land where my feet touch the ground in a much more balanced way when I have the opportunity to engage with the patient and kind Snuneymuxw people. I'd love to introduce Lolly Good, who is going to, has pre-recorded a land acknowledgement for us. She's an elder in the community, and I'm so grateful for her in my life and on this journey that I'm on here.
So I'll just share the land acknowledgement. Just give me 1 second.
We're only able to do either the land acknowledgement or an image of Lolly.
Feel free to turn your volume up.
Peter and Caroline Good, Antipet Schreitzelwit, Lolly Tennis, Juanitamath Nesquish, Tenison at Snuneymuxw, Quamlo at Seashell. Snuneymuxw CCM Mastimo, Tlashon Sapmouth Ast Tamach. Honored elders, friends, relatives, I'm the child of Peter and Caroline Good. Lolly's my English name. I was born and raised Snuneymuxw, extended family root Seashell. Snuneymuxw Chief Mike Rising Council, welcome you all to our sacred land / traditional territory. Sisa CM, Heichka Atanaquel, Thichwam, Lelamathat, Atakikalis, Ikaki, Mastimo, Heichka, Atasachtans Atanaquel, Thichwam, we at Slachant, Atalatems, Cesar CM Thichwam, at Matalchus Atanaquel, Tamaxquel, Stilatnumste.
Haichka, Lolly and Haichka Holly.
Excuse me, thank you. I also wish to acknowledge that this being in a cyber land intersects a number of territories, and I invite the panelists to also mention the territories that you're working from.
Thank you, Holly. And that's a great segue, I think, to welcoming our guests today to take a little time to reflect with us and talk about what they're seeing right now in the world of digital dance in this very unusual, extraordinary moment we're in. And we've asked them to reflect on 3 questions, and I'm just going to read them out loud for everybody to hear again. What do you see happening in the COVID moment for dance companies, creators, and presenters? What are the challenges and/or possibilities for creation and presentation? What digitally based works do you find most intriguing right now? And what is your gut response to our current situation and the future of live arts? So some big questions, some big broad questions, and we are inviting our panelists just to go for wherever they are right now, and to share some of their perspectives with us. And we've also got some images that we're hoping to use as well as part of their presentations. So right now we've got Julianne and Olivia and Holly. So we've just got 3 of our panelists for now. So I'm going to invite each of them to speak for about 7 minutes. I'm going to give them each a 2-minute and a 1-minute warning using the jazz hands at Julianne's request. So they're each going to get a chance to speak. And then we're going to take a short break, and then we'll come back with some more questions, either from our live feed or from me or Holly or Odessa and Jamie. So I'm going to ask Julianne to take the mic here and ask you, Julianne, first of all, just to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself and locate yourself to let us know where you are physically in the world right now.
Well, I also wanted to do a land acknowledgement to start and hopefully answer lots of questions at the same time. I am based in Vancouver and live between the Musqueam and Tsleil-Waututh nations, and I'm happy and privileged to be a settler on the lands and live and work quite often around the Lower Mainland, and I'm also privileged to work on those territorial lands as well. So again, I said I have a dance company in Vancouver. I'm a Canadian dance presenter. I also have experience. I started off as a dancer and have my degree from York University, and then made my way to the Banff Centre as a dance stage manager, and then joined Ballet British Columbia, which is how I made it out to Vancouver. Worked with John Elaine at Ballet BC for several years, and then started working with, left the company and started working with many other choreographers and dance companies around Vancouver as a production manager and a stage manager. I toured a lot in those days. I worked with Crystal Pite, Kid Pivot for 12 years. I toured to Holly's venue many times with Lola Dance and many other Vancouver choreographers, and have toured, had the privilege to work nationally and internationally. And since then, at the same time I've been co-founded Small Stage in Vancouver, and have been regularly doing shows for the past 18 years. My goodness gracious, but Small Stage has evolved. It used to be, we were rebels at the time. I don't think we knew it, but we started doing shows in bars, and really the point was accessibility in those days. And since then, Small Stage has evolved to doing lots of technical things. And I wanted to sort of just talk about that maybe in context with your first question there, Mitch, which is sort of that segue into what do I see happening for dance companies, creators, and presenters right now, sort of. And from my perspective of being a production artist and being a presenter, I see lots of incredible things actually happening in the dance community. Locally, nationally, internationally. I think dancers have really taken up, early adopters we are. We've taken up dance film work. We've taken up production work. We've really been inventive in how we've been pushing our work out into social media channels, into live stream formats. Like, I think we are super flexible people, and we have incredible skills within the dance community that I see many, many companies flipping immediately. And I'm so proud actually to see this happening in our own community. I think that as presenters, that's the other side of it. Poor Holly, we have a lot of work to do, I think, Holly, as presenters of where do we go now? What do we, like, now that the world is opening up, where there's blurred lines between local, national, and international boundaries almost, where this used to define work. They're invisible now with technology, and I find that very exciting, very, very exciting, where we can transcend accessibility issues, make things more meaningful, and I'm super excited for that. What are the I'm just going to go through your questions because I think they're so awesome. I hope that's okay, Mitch. Your next question of what are the challenges and possibilities for creation and presentation? I think right now I see like skill development in our community being an issue. in the past couple of years, Small Stage has received some digital strategies funding from the Canada Council, which has enabled me to educate myself in a really practical way. I'm able to notice these gaps between the energy and the vibe and the creative juices are flowing, but we have a lot to learn in terms of technology and the bridging of that. One of my early inspirations for digging into the technology and digital realm was my husband actually is a 3D technical artist for video games and video art. And I started hearing all the language, right? As we do. And I was really excited to sort of learn new things, but also understand that I had a basis because dance is 3-dimensional. Ooh, and I could understand it in very easily, the concepts. And as you know, an artist that works in space and time, it's really interesting that we can grasp these things as dance people so easily. But what I started to notice as well is that the current people that they were working with, like currently, like I saw an early movie or an early game of this ballerina leaping from mountaintop to mountaintop. And I was horrified at just like the lines of the body were just wrong. Like it was just not aesthetically pleasing. And one of my questions was, why aren't they getting like a choreographer involved? And this is when I started to notice these gaps that, thanks Mitch, 2 minutes, about these things. And so I just wanted to share with you some of my slides quickly, if I could, Odessa, because then this will help me finish my, because I started to notice these other projects internationally, and they've really influenced my sort of work. And I just wanted to share, if you wouldn't mind, if you could go to the next one. And maybe so this is a project that I saw, noticed in Paris, and they were using augmented reality to change the space. And it's a really interesting project. If you go to YouTube and type in Gallery Lafayette, I would encourage you to do that because it's a really great example of what can be done in an environment and a unique partnership with Galerie Lafayette is a department store in the middle of Paris. And so this is a really interesting project that I saw early on. Can you go to the next slide, Odessa? Dance on Screen is really exciting right now. This is an OK Go video that uses aerial shots, and choreography is done in a really interesting way. I just wanted to point that out because it transfers to digital animation by the end of this particular video, and I thought it was really interesting use of dance on screen. Can you go to the next slide, Odessa? And then there's some really interesting work going on in France with musicians and just plain screens, different screens placed in different locations around the dancer, digital animation on the screens. And in Lyon in France, they're doing lots of this digital work. 1 more minute, thank you, Mitch. Can you go to the next slide, Odessa? And then there's this really interesting other stuff happening in the UK in more of the public realm art, which is where I'll kind of leave you. Small Stages doing a lot of public installations work, placemaking work in the public realm, and I'm extremely inspired by this work that's happening in the UK. It's in Bristol in England, and they have it's called a media studio, quite a bit different structure than what we have here, but this is a choreographer who's done a crane dance and on the waterfront, and engaged and had audiences of 10,000 people over 3 nights, I believe. And I find this really exciting work. It reminds me of Canadian choreographer Anne Trock, who, you remember, Corey, or Holly, remember Anne Trock's work? She was doing digger work. And this reminds me of that work back in the day. So I'll leave you there with lots of things that are happening in other parts of the world. I believe, Holly, that these are all mixed reality. So that dancers, like, we're already early adopters in our mixed reality, and that we combine how we're combining things, live dance, digital things. We're already doing it, and we just need to go further in that technology push. So I hope
Thank you.
and so I hope I've answered all the questions, Mitch.
Oh, thoroughly. Thank you, Julianne. Thank you for it. Felt like a sort of tantalizing taste of many things that you gave us there. So looking forward to being able to dive a little deeper into things that you shared. So thank you so much for setting the tone for us. So I'm gonna see if Jane is here. Yes, hi Jane, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much. Sorry for the mix-up. My fault.
No worries. Here you are. It's great to see you. I understand you're a little farther away than the rest of our guests today. So I'd like to just invite you to say a little bit about yourself briefly, where you are, and then take it away from there. I don't know if you caught it, but I'll give you a 2-minute jazz hands and a 1-minute jazz hands for your time. So
Just an introduction. Yeah.
Yeah.
My name is Jane. Do I have my? Yes, I'm unmuted.
Yeah,
Hello. Good
you're good.
morning. Afternoon. Hello. So my name is Jane Gabriels. I'm trying to hunch into this frame, and I'm here as my title is Executive Director of Made in BC Dance on Tour in Vancouver, and right now I'm in Mohawk territories on the East Coast, and yeah, so I'm really happy. I mean, I was invited to talk about digital dance at this event and have some ideas, but that's my introduction.
Wonderful, thank you. So what are your reflections on digital dance right now, and responding to the questions that we shared, but your own kind of
Yeah.
impressions, given that you are part of several different dance communities, and I can see that you're really quite a community connector in both of those worlds. Yeah.
No, that's all good. So yeah, no, I really appreciated also hearing about exactly like accessibility, as Julianne was saying, accessibility, skill development. I loved hearing that placemaking work in the public realm, a crane dance, who knew? But yeah, and also true enough, like the skills that choreographers have with like improvising, finding ways to make it work. That's all on a choreographer's the body. So I've had everyone's speaking to each other, and I just wrote down a few things about, I was talking with Natalie Tinyan-Gan yesterday, and I thought this is really beautiful. We were saying that right now is a time to get underneath the busyness of it all and to connect on a more cellular level with the work itself, which I thought was something, as soon as I say it, I slow down. That's good. The other thing I've been noticing that's interesting, it's just very challenging to organize working with a group of dancers right now that are connected only with you and your work and not running from studio to studio, and that's, so it's a bit hard to work on a group piece, and also very hard to pay dancers to align themselves only with one project to the exclusion of all others. So it's very odd in a way, going back to this like firm dance company model, which is also like really hard to sustain. I also have been really watching some of the artists in Vancouver who have stepped up to help those in Crab Park, living in the tents, unhoused, homeless people, unhoused. And I really like this idea that Rianne Svelnes said about this feeling of body solidarity. And I thought that was like, that's another thing that I've been, noticing, and other people have been really doing. And the other thing is, I feel like at this moment, because everyone's trying to figure out like, how do we keep ourselves and each other safe, is artists and presenters really do need to talk with each other in depth to learn what each is doing to keep themselves and others safe. And that's a really it's a very interesting moment, because I had one conversation with an artist and a presenter, and they were both like really impressed with each other because both were like thinking everything through, and they had to connect to make sure they had thought of everything. So those are some thoughts. I have other stuff, but maybe that's good for now. I don't know. Okay.
Okay, sure. Yeah, actually, why don't we carry on? So I'll just to reflect back a little bit, what I just heard you say was you're really talking about some of the challenges within dance companies themselves, not just the technical challenges, but the ways that they are able to get together and the way they work together. It sounds like you're really noticing a lot of change around that area. Yeah, so I'm glad you're bringing in the kind of the social and the collaborative perspective here too, and not just the technical. So we'll get back to that a little bit later. Anything else you want to add right now, Jane, that's come to you before I go over to Olivia?
I just wrote what you said is social and collaborative perspectives. Yeah, thanks so much for that. The reflection helps.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I really appreciated what the first thing that you said about wanting to slow it down. Like, this is our time to slow it down as things seem to be speeding up again, especially. So that's a great invitation to all of us. So I'm going to slow myself down for a minute here, take a breath, and ask Olivia to take the mic here and share her perspectives, or at least her opening perspectives, before we get into more discussion. So Olivia, and if you wouldn't mind also just introducing yourself and letting us know where you are.
Hi, everyone. Ani Boujou. My name is Olivia C. Davies. I hail from Algonquin Territory, Anishinaabe from Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, and I've been living on the unceded Coast Salish territories here in Vancouver, British Columbia since 2011. I have a small company called O.Dela Arts that houses my creative projects and collaborations. And I'm very grateful to you, Holly, for this invitation to join this incredible panel with Julianne and Jane and everybody here. Thank you. It's been a very interesting couple months for sure. There's so many thoughts and so many that have already been articulated, but just as I was noting through the conversation, I feel like right now on August 14th, 2020, just to really pull it into the now, creators are burning out, and I'm one of them. It's been a lot of push to get content out there, to reconfigure, to pivot, to figure out how to maintain our visibility in the sphere without being in-person public. So for many of us, that has meant taking on social media roles that maybe we were reluctant to really embrace before, especially if we are smaller companies, collectives, or even independent artists who don't necessarily have a marketing guru or person who does all of that shameless self-promotion for us. Just to put that out there. Conversations that I've had with colleagues also include this reality of companies having to pivot. For instance, rethinking the necessity for touring, just in general. Well, how are we able to bring our work and our ideas to communities without impacting negatively through travel that could be unsafe? But also, is this actually going to shift our reasoning for touring? And that's a much bigger, broader question. But just to bring that one up, and then just thinking of presenters, as a presenter myself with O.Dela Arts, I present Matriarchs Uprising as a festival that celebrates contemporary Indigenous dance made by women-identified bodies. And so I lump myself into this category. We're hungry for content, and yet we don't necessarily have all of the resources to support the artists in their needs to get that content out in such a way that is valuable or meaningful in terms of the engagement. I remember very early on with the National Arts Centers, here, take your $1,000 carrot grant. we're looking for content. I was quick to jump on that bandwagon and found myself in a very strange place in my, tiny cell of a living room, trying to light myself with bike lights and figure out how to make something that was engaging, but would still, bring forward an idea that I had been working on prior to lockdown, but could no longer work on with my fellow collaborators. And again, just really these desires I think we have as artists, as creators, to bring our ideas forward, and we want to share them, and we want to connect our hearts with our public, with our witnesses. So finding ways to do that in a meaningful way is certainly a challenge, but one that we seem to all be having. I'm so grateful for panels like this where we are having these conversations. I always learn something new and pick up a new trick to add to the toolkit, by hearing what others are doing. What digitally based works am I finding most intriguing right now? Well, actually, I'm going to present you, Julianne, your Small Stages dance film commissions. My colleague Jeanette Kotowicz had a number of beautiful presentations that she made sure to share far and wide through social media, and I got a chance to witness, and I just loved it. And it was so cool to see how that was happening. She also did things in, I think it was her bedroom, with some cool little animal characters. And it was so whimsical and lovely, and really uplifted my spirit watching it. Another one I'm going to present right now is the Mile Zero Dance Company out in the prairies. They hosted an event a little bit earlier on now. I can't exactly quite recall the date, but I want to say it was in July. That was a garden party of commissioned dance films, again but with creators from around the world as well as locally to Canada. And then interspersed with these moments of like botanical information sharing by a host who was in his garden. And again, a super, lovely event, and one that I found myself actually like engaged for the full 2 hours in front of my screen watching, which is cool. It was a really great experience. And then finally, I'll just mention the dance films that were curated for the Dancing on the Edge Festival this past year. Specifically the one by 605 Collective's Josh Martin that he made with David Cooper, called Brimming. That was done in a very cool venue space, the Boombox. That film just struck me. I had the volume on loud. I was watching it. I didn't want it to end. It was so engaging. And I mean, really just the stellar caliber of the kind of quality of dance film that really will, I think, bring new audiences into the field, into the dance world, and was just beautifully executed by the creators. Yeah, well, my gut response to our current situation and the future of live arts performance. So I sort of mentioned about my gut response right at the beginning there. But with that, I mean, we're so lucky here in British Columbia, especially in this part of unceded Coast Salish Territory, where the weather's on our side right now. I know a number of us have done, work outside, site-specific, site-responsive, either performance or other types of engagements. I think of the Vines Festival run by Heather Lamoureux that's on right now, that actually did things in like 5 separate locations. I think of you, Holly, and what happened with Infringing Dance Festival over in Nanaimo and Snuneymuxw Territory. So these things are happening, and it's encouraging. It gives a sense of relief to know that maybe by finding ways of socially distanced, safe practices, we are keeping our dreams alive, and enlivening others' lives with our art making. I also see that this is really a time for reflection. The title of this panel, where we can develop potentials without getting caught up in product. So again, taking the time to consider all the possibilities, all the realities, all the precautions necessary, and then how that will affect our future of live arts performance. I really believe and I'm optimistic that we will return to theaters, whether it's next year or the year after that or 2023. But that return to theaters where our hearts are beating together in space and time with the artists that we're witnessing, it'll happen, and we just need to be kind and thoughtful through this reflective moment, so that we get there in a good way. Can I mention anything else? Yeah, that's everything I'm going to share right now. Thanks very much, Mitch.
Thank you, Olivia. Thank you so much for bringing the heart bringing the heart into this discussion, and the range of heart responses in terms of burnout, but also some encouragement and hope that I'm hearing from you too right now. So thank you. So we've saved Holly for our final speaker in our panel before we go to a group discussion. So Holly, you've been listening to the other panelists speak, and I'm sure you've got your own reflections to add. So what do you think? Where are you at? And if you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself quickly too for our live stream.
Sure. Yeah, I'm Holly Bright. I have been a dance artist and began producing in '92. I've been producing on Snuneymuxw Territory in Nanaimo, also known as Nanaimo, British Columbia, since '96, and founded Crimson Coast Dance Society in '98 with a team of women who I was teaching dance to, and a couple of men. And we've kind of been going strong ever since, and building and growing, and in particular because of the people who surround me. So I'm really, really grateful for the love of the art form, and I think that it does connect us in a really deep way, as Olivia was saying, that heart beating in the same space and time, and that relationship between audience and performer. It's almost as though, well, the audience is a witness as opposed to audience. We're not, in contemporary dance in particular, we're really asking those witnesses to participate as poetry makers, and to bring their own stories forward through what they're seeing. And it's just one of the most incredible experiences. The reason that I'm involved in dance at all, I think, is the metaphor and the possibility for metaphor that it contains, and the space that it holds for all of us. And I'm really curious about how that translates to digital media, and how digital media translates to dance. So I'm there's part of me that is really trusting that this is a bit of an anomaly, that we won't be facing a pandemic every year, and that we're learning our way through it, learning how to care for each other, and how to care for ourselves through this situation. And then, and that's just in a really, speaking person to person, and while we also have this economy that we're looking at, as well as economy, livelihood, and creative expression that is essential not only to our family lives, also to our mental health and our own sense of self and identity in the community. So so there are just so many personal and social issues that I've been thinking about. And then I'm dancing less these days. So I'm finding that I'm thinking mostly about presenting and how to connect with the community, and what that actually looks like, and how the community connects with us. I think that there's a way that I hear over and over again that people are ready to come and see shows, that they're really missing each other, that they'd really love to collect and gather again, while the opportunities that are presented are experiencing low uptake. So low in-person uptake, which says to me that actually people love the idea that it's happening. They love that the possibility is there, while are still really unsure. So there's a lot to think about, I think, in moving forward with what kind of work we do as presenters. And then there's a lot of education to come as well. I'm a digital immigrant. Like, I was not born in an era where I grew up with a cell phone, and I'm really unfamiliar with the language, even digital dance. I'm finding that in so many areas right now, there's a requirement to define and to identify what everything means, and what is my area, what's my territory, what are my rights, what are my privileges, and what is digital dance? Is this digital dance because it uses digital technology? What makes digital dance? And so there are a lot of questions around identifying what we're doing and how we're doing it. So, and then within that, how we do it and how we talk about it with the audience. How do we onboard an audience that to whom this is also very new? Or how do we connect with an audience who are native, digital natives, who were born into a digital world? So so I have, I feel as though I'm securely anchored in space. Having just completed the festival, we pivoted immediately. We were in the midst of producing a youth program with Indigenous youth who have had some challenges in their lives and had worked really hard to this culminating moment in March. And we knew that we had to go forward in some way to engage these young people and to create success for their efforts. And so with the incredible Jamie Black, who is Little Bird digital storyteller on the side herself, we pivoted that program and engaged youth from like 10 till 4 every day on Zoom, which was amazing. They learned a lot and had some really strong connections created. So I know there's some possibilities there. And then we engaged Olivia actually to work with Rosemary Georgeson to produce Home Our Way online with a group of women, and found that was really successful. And it was just immediately, these things were on our horizon, they were budgeted, we were ready to go. And then it was just this question of, do we have the resources and the skill to put them online? And we did, and we have the skill, we had the resources, and we did it. And then in reflecting on that experience and reflecting on what was coming, Jamie and I both looked at what was happening around us and listened to what people were saying, and realized that people were really interested in things happening, activities to attend and go to. And so we produced the festival, and it was not necessarily digital technology, other than some what's now mainstream live stream happening in performance, as well as through Facebook of events. Yet we explored everything that was possible in terms of health authority approval. And in that exploration, found that more than anything, and not terribly surprising, yet somewhat surprising, in terms of the variance in attendance, that local people supported local events, and that live performance on stage with FM transmission was not taken up nearly as much, although the people who did go really loved the fact that the artists were basically in the car with them because of their hearing them on the radio. And then we had drive-in movies that were not taken up at the degree that I thought they would be. So it was quite interesting to see a really big, a really big difference in terms of uptake. And so what some of the I'm thinking about a lot of things right now, obviously. What I'm really curious about now is how to create a space for what is happening now, and how to have the skill to produce what's happening now, and how to talk about it so that the public understands, the artists understand, and I also get the opportunity to understand as well and grow at this time. So I'll stop. I think my time is up.
Yeah, thank you very much, Holly.
Octopus and a spider all at the same time. So, yeah.
The octopus spider. I like it. Thank you so much, Holly. And just for folks that don't know, you were speaking about the Infringing Festival that you just produced as part of Crimson Coast Dance. And I know that many of our speakers mentioned some very intriguing projects, things that they're being inspired by. And I'm wondering if there's a way we can get at least the names, and if not, and possibly the links also into the YouTube chat, Odessa and Jamie. If you need, maybe our speakers could just put in the Zoom chat the names that they mentioned. During our brief break, we're going to take a brief break here. I'm going to suggest 3 minutes. We're running a little bit late at the moment. I just want to check with any of our guests here whether you need to go right at 11, or can you stay a little longer for extended talk? Yeah. Okay. And if you need to go, then please feel free to. But I think it's really important that we're in these digital spaces, that we also care for our bodies. So let's take a 3-minute body break here. If you have some music, you want to put it on, have a dance break, that's great. But we're going to come back at 10:50 West Coast time. So in 3 minutes, we'll come back and we'll have some deeper dives with the four guests we have here. So thank you. Oh, and one more thing, if you're on the live stream, if you do have questions for any of our panelists, please feel free to put them into the chat, and Odessa and Jamie will pick those up and we'll relay them to us. All right. Welcome back, everybody. Hope you got a little blast of sunshine and a stretch during our break. We'll wait here for Olivia to reappear as well. And as we're just regathering, hi. I'm wondering, Odessa and Jamie, whether we've got any questions coming through the chat on YouTube.
I don't think we have any questions there, but I have a question.
Oh, great. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, perhaps this is a bit probing, but this is something that's kind of coming up in our conversation. I think for a lot of dance artists, particularly, they have been forced to kind of what you were talking about, Olivia, uptake and learn these new digital skills and sell themselves and present in a new way. But I'm kind of curious about I don't know, advice or reflections on dance artists who don't have, a digital practice as part of their enterprise and aren't interested in marketing themselves and exploring VR or MR, or where does that leave them in this world? I guess artists always have to be innovators and we have to, adapt, but also what is the role of presenters in the conversation as well? Do they have to be finding new platforms and new spaces, or does it have to be led by artists in terms of the innovation of how to create work that can be presented under certain given restrictions? So I know that's a lot of questions, but are kind of all tangled up in one, but I don't know if any of you have thoughts about that. Olivia,
Yeah,
right
I'd like to respond to Odessa because I've just been having these conversations with artists recently, and there's a question of how can they find support in digital storytelling, video dramaturgy, like all that creative technical stuff. And I can't remember who it was with, but anyways, we were blue sky dreaming up, well, could there somehow start to be liaisons between filmmakers, these digital storytellers, and the dance makers who want to access them? And then whose role is it to do that liaison work? And I'm pointing to you, Jamie, because you're in the left box beside mine. But Home Our Way could not have gone digital without someone like Jamie Black supporting myself and my co-facilitator in figuring out what it meant to offer a workshop on Zoom. And I think something interesting too, that Holly, you mentioned being a digital immigrant. Oh my God, I love that term. But how does that age gap relate to people who are totally Instagram savvy and may have already had a following of people who watch their 30-second whatever Instagram dance clips, and those who don't? And could a mentorship start to exist between those who have that skill and that knowledge? Can they be paid for their time? Is that something the Canada Council for the Arts wants to support, or other local funding agencies? But yeah, really look into the reality of, like, if this is actually going to exist as our new reality for X number of years, then we need to start making those connections now, so people aren't feeling the dirt of wanting to get their work out there, but then also feeling like, oh, is it even going to be interesting? Like, I'm not a filmmaker, I'm a choreographer, and I'll adapt, but it's not going to be the same as like hiring. Again, I referenced David Cooper because what he and Josh did was impeccable. Like, it was so engaging. That's all I'll say to it.
Yeah, thank you, Olivia. Yeah, so Julianne, what's your response to this? And I think what we're talking about here is the skill development part that you referenced before, and the new roles maybe that are emerging both on the artist side, the technical side, the presenter side. Yeah, what do you think?
I think I want to zoom a little further out. I was struck by a couple of things Jan said, Holly said, now Olivia said, Odessa. Like, I want to kind of zoom out a bit more than problem solving. I think like we're already in problem solving mode, and I think it's too soon. I think I hear Olivia, my gosh, all the artists who have been working in the past 4 months need to take a break immediately. Like, you're on burnout. We're all on burnout because we've been problem solving so quickly, which is our response as dance artists, also skill-based to solve problems. And I feel like I don't even know what a dance company looks like. We've evolved a dance company. We've evolved what a presentation model looks like. And I think we have to, I'm a disruptor, so please forgive me when I say I think we have to abandon these institutional models and go back to, like, I hear you, Olivia, like, what connections do you need to make now? What do we need to do now? But before that, we have to really think about who we are, what's authentic to us, I'm worried that all the dance artists are going to be given training on social media platforms and that's digital dance. I don't think that's the answer to the next months or years of anything. I don't think you should all become filmmakers. I think that we need to connect with a larger ecosystem and figure out what all of the arts, all of it, the economy, everything's gonna shift. I don't think that funding models are gonna stay the same. I don't think that the dissemination of funds should stay the same. But I'm really disrupting. So I want to disrupt everything right now. We have the opportunity to figure out what we're specialists in and what we need to develop, what we're interested in. I hear you, Olivia, when you say I'm not actually I hate social media personally, but it's part of what we sort of have to do right now. But I'm I don't really want to continue that. It was just a means to an end of getting to my pre-existing audience, Holly. And I wanted to challenge you on that maybe a little bit, who are our audiences going to be in a year? Because who they were last year is not gonna happen again.
Yeah.
We need to rethink where money is, what people want and what people need, and then reorganize what we're doing. Anyway.
Yeah, Julianne, thank you. I hear your call for let's zoom out here and get out of problem solving mode and take a look at even just the basis of what we're doing in terms of organizational models and financial systems and how we're actually doing what we do. And Jane, you had your hand up and you wanted to add something.
Yeah, no, it's really great. I'm really happy that we're, just connecting and sharing ideas right now and zooming in and zooming out and just kind of focusing on it in different perspectives, what is this thing? And I was thinking with different artists, I've been sort of telling them or thinking about things. Okay, I remember one friend of mine said a very great thing. She was like, right now, conversation is back on the table. And I really liked what she meant by that was we're not having performances and a Q&A afterward. It's this is the thing. And there's something that's kind of amazing. And I've been sort of telling different friends who are trying to figure out what to do, obviously this is not the time to burn bridges. It's more this is the moment to build bridges, even when you don't even know where the shore is. Just talk to different people, ask them, people are open. I just spoke with a couple people. Normally I would not have this much time with them. I'd have maybe a good 5 minutes. But today, suddenly, this person had time. It was a 15, 20-minute conversation. We both let something happened. It was very substantial. And another thing that I was thinking about is, and this is kind of coming from other conversations that I'm listening to, just our collective nervous system is eagerly calling us to create changes that can help us be more stable and healthy, our collective nervous system. And there was something about that idea that I enjoyed, and thinking about endurance, and also a time when, to think about what we're doing to make changes that benefit those that have not historically had a voice. And those are very important considerations that I know everybody's digging into much more strongly. They were, but more so now. Yeah, I think those are some general things I wanted to contribute.
Yeah, thanks, Jane. Yeah, hearing your call or your experience of having more conversational time right now, and that's seems like a very positive thing for you, and more networking, I think, or not networking in the kind of cold sense of it, but in the forming our connecting the
Is
neurons.
I'm frozen or?
Jane, you're frozen a little bit at the moment. So I'm actually going to go throw it to Holly here. She had her hand up as well. So Holly, what do you have to say?
Well, I am really interested in how this moving forward is also requiring, or moving through or sorting through is requiring defining and definition, and this idea of conversation in chaos really is so essential, while so is kindness. And one of the things that I'm really recognizing is that there is some tendency to demand someone's space or demand their clarity of definition, and then there are some experiences where people are inquiring and assuming good intent, and I think of Bonnie Henry, you know, and I'm like, be kind. Like there's it's remarkable to me how considerate the funding bodies have been, and absolutely kindly and generously walking through this with us in this time when we really have no answers and we're really searching. And so it inspires me greatly that I'm a part of a sector where those values exist and that they are being reflected at a funding body level. And I'm really curious to see not only who our audience is, but who are the artists and who are the presenters, and how are we going to define those? And you know, there's some aspects of digital presentation I'm really not currently interested in. I don't sit and watch. I don't watch shows online. It's just, I've never watched television, and it's, you know, just a kind of an extension of that. So I'm doing it to learn. And then there are other aspects that really excite me, where the visceral component can come in, where virtual reality and augmented reality are, it's like creating magic in an in-person world. And I function really well in person, heart to heart, in presence. And that excites me as a presenter. It excites me because I get to learn more, and it excites me because of what I get to experience and share with the community or participate in myself. Yeah.
Thank you, Holly. Yeah, I heard partly what I heard in what you were saying was sort of a curiosity, I think, around language and how we're actually going to speak about what we're doing digitally. The new kinds of terms and roles, and what is an artist now? What is a presenter? You know, what is a dance company? There's so many fundamental questions that we're really considering right now. Just a pause, just about timing, just to give everybody. I'm thinking we'll go for another 15 minutes if that works for everybody. We can keep going. I'll check in then anyway. Olivia, it looks like 5 minutes. You got to go. Okay. How about for everybody else? Maybe I'll just check in with you. How would you like to keep going? 10 for Julianne? Yeah, 10-ish? 10? Okay, let's go for 10. Olivia, I know you're gonna have to jump off in 5, but and actually, why don't Olivia, since you're jumping off first, just check in with you if there's anything else coming up as the other speakers are talking here.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm just I'm really valuing the conversation that's being hosted here, and I feel like I'm also hearing from people who've paved the way for someone like myself, who's an emerging presenter curator, to understand, you know, both you, Holly, Julianne, and Jane, all three of you, excuse me, not both, but have been doing some really incredible work over many years to get to a point where you have ideas and you have strategies that are gonna keep this this dream alive. I don't know. I keep coming back to that idea because I put a lot of labor and love into a project that, for a moment there, didn't think was going to see the light of day, and then was really grateful it did. And through this time, I mean, I have had so many cool opportunities to engage in ways I never would have imagined. I mean, Jane was able to bring together artists from the Bronx and from Canada in a digital residency. And then we shared, oh my gosh, that was like, it was so cool. It was such a re-enlivening of the fact that, you know, we can still connect as artists. The willingness to engage through a screen, you know, you figure it out. You take your time with it, and I've been doing a lot of learning through all of this too, which in some ways will, you know, will definitely precipitate a new way of looking at how I do things in the future, and how I'm doing things now. So yeah, I think that's sort of a closing thought for me, but I'm really happy to continue listening here. Thank you again.
Yeah, thank you, Olivia. And I'm just actually reminded that some of you are trying to make those spaces for conversations to happen, and for the kind of kindness and shared reality and connection that I'm sensing from all of you is what you're looking for. And Jane and Olivia, I know you recently hosted through Made in BC a forum for artists. And I wondered if you wanted just to speak quickly about that, and maybe what you're seeing for opportunities for gathering together artists and presenters. Yeah, Jane, would you like to, or Olivia? Oh, I see the hands going. Maybe you can both speak at the same time.
Like, you go. No, but that was, I mean, I have the great fortune of like working with Olivia at Made in BC, you know, and that's lovely. And that was the Des Arts Dehors, the program. Arts Outside is the focus of it. And yeah, we had this wonderful idea to have a retreat, to have 8 artists together and like sharing all these good things. And it was like, okay, let's, so same thing with everybody. But yeah, it was just, it's just putting different people together. And, you know, for like everyone's really smart, you know, and a lot of it is just getting a nice group of people together, put them in the Zoom room and like just walk away and and just see what comes up as the conversations happen and people start sharing a bit more. And you know, it is weird because I'm honestly listening to myself talk, and I'm in a room. It's like an old bedroom. See stuff everywhere. So like different things happen because I'm in my own energy, but I'm also sharing. Anyway, so there was a lot of artists talking, and I think, you know, something else is going to come from that because different connections were made. And we did have that, switching gears a little bit, we did have that was in the Bronx with 2 Indigenous artists in the Bronx, and meeting with Olivia and Jessica McMahon here in Vancouver and Calgary, and just wanting to, it's just like you're staring right at, I just wanted to put them together because I knew there would be so much to talk about. And there's something about putting people together, stepping away, and also the public showing of that was the artist decided what it was going to be like, what the pacing was like, and everything else. So it was really great because it was a total surprise, and that was something really beautiful also to learn about it later. Olivia, maybe you have a few things. I don't know.
Yeah, just to add that putting together the symposium was something that was such a rich experience. I learned so much from the people that I was like cold calling from across the country. Hey, I think you have a practice that is somehow related to what we're trying to build around this theme, and then to feel, you know, to feel the people in the room who were witnessing that conversation was really great. And we do know, yeah, just as Jane mentioned, that connections were made between artists and presenters, or artists and artists out of that. So that these kinds of, you know, I feel like I know more about you, Julianne, now than I did beforehand. And this is strengthening and fostering the relationship I have with Holly. So, you know, that we're doing this, that we're making live connections, like alive connections through a virtual box is so cool. And these need to continue, I think. Grateful for it.
Yeah, thanks, Olivia. Live connection. Yeah, Julianne.
I'm really struck by lots of things in this conversation, and I wanted to sort of pick up on a thread that Olivia mentioned about touring a little bit ago, and just what that looks like, because I'm kind of noticing like how you know, the part of the being in the digital age is accessibility to communications and stuff like that. And I'm really interested to hear like how these things happen, the residency that you both just described, and, you know, connecting with other people that we might not, well, would probably never have the opportunity to run across in real life because we just don't run in those local circles. But, you know, with all due respect, the model of touring needs to be reimagined, I think, as well, where we're, you know, having these more meaningful experiences, artists, and more, you know, visceral things like Holly's talking about. Like, I really hear, like, you know, that, you know, it's not the same, not being in a room with other people. Like, this mode of communication is great for initial conversations, but, you know, it's not going to replace what we do as dance artists, the connection, the human connection. And I'm interested that, you know, we're finding new ways to connect and normalize these things as well as we go through. I love that, Holly. I don't think that you should do Zoom meetings anymore. No, I'm just kidding. But I hear you that we need to find different ways to be in a room with each other. And I think next time we should meet in a 360 VR room. So we'll think about that for next time.
Yeah, thanks, Julianne. Holly, yes, I'm going to turn it to you for some closing thoughts. But Julianne, just wanted to appreciate, I think that the kind of hopefulness that I hear, or like the kind of excitement that you have around this disruption moment that we're in, I find it inspiring. So, and I'm appreciating all the questions you're asking, and all of you have asked today. So Holly, I think we're going to turn it over to you for wrap-up questions. And I just wanted to check in with you, first of all, as, you know, the host organization. This was your vision to bring this together. If you wanted to say, you know, how has it been for you to connect like this, and what it might mean for future conversations that you want to hold with Crimson Coast.
I think I'm the original SpongeBob. I really absorb so much when I'm with other people. And I think part of the reason that I dance is because I absorb, and then for me, my expression comes out through movement. And so this gives me a lot of juice and ideas. I'm really excited to learn about the 360 opportunities that are out there, filming events, being in a room together. 360 sounds really fantastic. And it is exciting, and there is excitement in it. I'm looking to how Crimson Coast Dance Society can be a place where we can support and foster what requires to come next as soon as we kind of, I guess, as we're doing it. And these conversations make that possible. They spark a lot of ideas, and I'm super grateful. And really, because I think that the collective mind is just so powerful and so dang interesting. You know, like, it's just really fantastic to hear what is happening and how people are engaging and what they are doing, as well as really getting real, getting human and vulnerable in conversation about what this means as a human being, what this means as an artist, what this means to our environment, where touring and environment are suddenly, we're recognizing, oh yeah, not only is touring not necessarily going to work at this time, it's actually going to help the environment. So maybe we should actually think about that for the future, you know. So there are ways that there are a lot of things on the table right now, and I look to the arts and the artists all the time to bring reflection and guide forward, and really that's what I'm doing now. That's what I am grateful for in this moment. And for all of those who were watching, I really, again, honor you for your time, and look to hear from you somehow in the future and some way. And then for all of of us in the room right now, I'm sincerely looking forward to staying connected and supporting each other and learning from each other. Mhm.
Yeah, thank you, Holly. So I think we're going to wrap up there. I just want to say once more, thank you so much to Jane, Olivia, and Julianne for joining us. To Holly, I know, Holly, you put so much heart and soul into Crimson Coast, and really appreciate you hosting this conversation. And if you don't mind, I'm just going to give a sneak preview that our Crimson Coast team here, we're in the planning stages of a fuller conference symposia online around this topic in 2021. So we're in the works, and so we hope to invite all of you back again to be part of it. And I thanks to Odessa and Jamie are behind the scenes, both behind the scenes, but also being an audience, you know, being that witness that Holly talked about. So that's really important to create this space together. So thanks again. Why don't we all open up our mics and say goodbye for now.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
So much.
Thank you
Bye.
so much for
It was
joining.
Bye,
lovely.
See you later. Thank you.